There's one thing about Las Vegas. Comedy is always king here. And one member of the King's Court is my guest, comedian Mike Saccone. He's headlining in the Laugh Factory at the Tropicana Las Vegas through August 27th. For ticket information, go to troplv.com and you can follow Mike Saccone on Facebook. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ira. Good to see you.
Yeah, I was looking back as to when I had you on the show before, and nothing personal, but it looked about 2008, I think. It wasn't that I didn't want to have you back on. It's just that the show's changed names and locations over the years. And all of a sudden, I saw you were coming into the Laugh Factory, and I said, got to get Mike on the show.
Thanks for digging me up. Yeah.
Why are you so?
It's been a bit. I was thinking it was even farther back than that.
It may be.
That you were teaching a class at UNLV on comedy, and you had me come and speak.
Correct. That what you're right. That was even earlier, so that would have been early 2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I went and looked at what I thought were my archives. Couldn't find you, but I found the date. I had your name and a date, and I think it was 2008. But we're boring the audience about the fact that you haven't been on in 19,000 years.
I'm here now. That's what's important.
That's a very actually correct. And I'd like to point out to our audience, those who are listening and don't see it, but Mike has a lot of equipment behind him. Hard to tell whether some of it's actually gym equipment, pinball machines, or other assorted accoutrement. So
yes. Well, you were seeing one of 15 pinball machines.
You have 15 of them?
Yes, I restore and collect antique pinball machines.
This I did not know about you.
Yes, that's my obsession, my hobby. I got into it several years ago, and it's just become a thing. It eats me up. I have to have more and more pinball machines, but it's not like collecting stamps. They take up a lot of room. So
yeah, I was going to say
so many pinball machines.
You can't exactly put 15 pinball machines on a shelf. Yeah, I understand
exactly,
what you're saying.
Exactly.
So
that's just one. That's the office one right there.
Very nice. Well,
yeah.
How did you? Well, before we even get into that, I want to just to give some background to our listeners and viewers who may not know about Mike Saccone. And by the way, have you ever thought about changing your last name to something more Italian and common, like Spumoni instead of Saccone? What do you think?
No, I'm going to stick with it.
All right. Okay. Fair enough.
Thanks.
Besides being a native of Kansas, Missouri,
Missouri.
What did I say?
You said a native of Kansas.
I thought I said native of Kansas City, Missouri. Didn't I say that?
Oh, Kansas City, Missouri. Okay. Yes, that's true.
Okay. Right. There you go. Anyway, you were the Star Search Comedy Grand Champion, where you won a $100,000 first prize.
Correct.
And you've used that money to invest in pinball machines, and you're now worth $10 billion in the pinball market. It's incredible. What a story.
What a turn I took. Yeah.
I got to get back to the pinball machines and then back to your career. When did you start with this pinball machine fetish? Notice I said a hobby or business.
It is kind of a fetish, really. Yeah. I'm kind of in love with them. I started way back when I was a kid. I used to go to the bowling alley. My dad would give me $1, and you had to make $1 last. So you had to really get good to win games, to play free games. I loved them. And then when I was 17, I was still in high school. I opened a pinball arcade with my brother. And we'd had that for a short while. Then life went on, and I became a comedian and all that. And then when I was about 50, my wife bought me a pinball machine for my birthday. We saw one at a antique shop. And it needed work. So I taught myself how to fix it. And then I just became obsessed, and I started looking at them online and eBay, and I just started buying more and fixing more and learning more and falling in love with the artwork they're really like a sculpture. There's beautiful artwork from the 50s. Mine are from the 50s and the 60s, which is the era I grew up in. So that's why I guess I'm in love with that era. And I just can't get enough of them. And I work on them. I paint them. My girlfriend helps me paint them. She's more the artist. You know,
Hmm.
and I'm more working on the guts. And then you play them. I play them every day, every day.
Well, how do people know? I'm assuming you repair them and fix them for others. So how do people know that you do this? Is there an
I don't.
underground? Oh, you
I
don't?
don't
Oh,
fix them for others. You know, I fix them
okay.
just for me. I mean, if someone asked me to fix theirs, I
Yeah.
have
Okay.
fixed a couple, but it's not like my business to do
Got it.
that.
Got it. You lived in Las Vegas for many years, and now you're in the Midwest. But you know that in Las Vegas there's a pinball museum Hall of Fame.
I'm very familiar with it. Yeah,
Yeah.
when I stay at the Trop, where I'm working at the Laugh Factory coming up in August. Uh,
It is August. It's through August 27th.
right. It's right up the street, you know, from the Trop. So I just walk right up there, and it's fantastic. It's got a lot of the machines aren't working there, which is a little disappointing. But I mean, it's just a big building full of pinball machines. It couldn't be more my fantasy place, you know.
So in other words, it should be called Nirvana for Mike Saccone.
For me, yeah,
Yeah.
they find me sleeping in there sometimes under a machine.
We were talking before the show, and I said how hard it was to get hold of you, even though you're the headliner there. You don't have a website. I looked everywhere. Yes, you have a Facebook page, but that still doesn't show how to get hold of you. I was able to through my own machinations, but why is that? Why are you not above the radar or below? Why are you either above or below the radar, but not on the radar?
Well, you're a pretty good detective, actually, Ira, just to find me at all. People go, "What happened to Saccone? Is he on the lam or the incognito? Federal witness protection?" The truth is, a few years ago, I kind of went into semi-retirement and with comedy, and I still do a couple gigs that I love. You know, people that I like working for. Harry Basil, he's got the Laugh Factory in Vegas. I love Harry. I love the club. I love the Tropicana. In fact, here's a point I would like to make. You know, the Trop is due to be imploded soon.
I'm not happy about that. Yes.
I am not happy about that either. It's the one of the last, that and the Flamingo, the last two of the originals. And I'm from Kansas City, Missouri, and you probably know about the Vegas Skim.
Mhm.
Remember the old Vegas when the
Oh, yes.
mob in
Oh,
Las
yes.
Vegas,
With the
and that
stardust and all of that. Yes.
yeah, that was out of Kansas City. The Kansas City mob, quotes. I'll put that in quotes. No names mentioned.
Understood.
Was running the Skim through Kansas City.
But they
So
also, I think, wait a minute though, Mike, they also ran pinball machines too. So there's a connection with you and all of that, isn't there? I'm
hey,
just
we don't need to draw those lines and connect those dots, Ira. All right, you're too much of an investigator now. But no, the Trop was the first place I played in Vegas in 1990. Right after I won Star Search. I was there with Jeff Foxworthy and Robert Schimmel, and Sam Butera was down in the lounge.
right.
Sam Butera and the Witnesses.
Were those in the days of Bob Kephart?
Those were the days of Rodney Dangerfield.
Oh, it was before Bob. Okay. Yes. All
Before
right.
Bob, Rodney had it for a very short time. In
Mhm.
fact, I claim myself, and I would love someone to challenge me on this. I think I'm the only guy who's played all four regimes of the Tropicana
Could very
Club.
well be. Yes.
It was Rodney Dangerfield. Then it was Bob Kephart for a long time. A lot of guys played for Bob. Then it was Brad Garrett for a short time. I played also for him. And now for Harry Basil. So I would love to know if anybody else has played all four of those regimes, because Rodney's regime was very short
Right.
and Brad's was short. But
And the names also changed too. It wasn't the Laugh Factory when it first started. So
right.
yeah.
It was Bob Kephart's was the Comedy Stop.
Right.
Rodney's, and then Brad Garrett's was Brad Garrett's Comedy Club, of course. And when Rodney had it, it was the best. And Harry's very, Rodney and Harry are connected at the hip. They did work together. He opened for Rodney. Harry produced a bunch of Rodney's movies. So he has the same sensibilities as Rodney. He's a comic himself. So he treats the comics very well. We get, everything we want. And that's how Rodney was too. Even to the point where the hotel was like, enough already. Given the comedians everything they ask for.
Well, I want to get back to the fact that you're semi-retired, because it seems, first of all, you look very well. So externally, you could go on forever. Look at that. Look at that. For those who can't see, he's very handsome.
Yes, actually. I've been working in the backyard.
Very handsome. Gray hair, but very dignified, and just, he looks healthy. Probably from living in the Midwest, away from all the craziness of the West Coast and the East Coast. I think
it keeps me dewy,
So why did you decide to semi-retire? Was it just, okay, you've had enough and you want to do other things? You want to focus on pinball machines and just relaxing and enjoying life?
Well, that's kind of a long story, serious, sad story, really. I am twice widowed.
Oh man, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and when I was living in Las Vegas back in 2000, well, I moved there in '98. I was married, my first wife. We had 2 daughters, and she got sick. She got cancer in Las Vegas, and she passed away. I had the 2 daughters there, and I worked in Las Vegas a lot. I had chiseled out a little niche for myself in Vegas, so I luckily could work in town, not travel, be home with the kids, and it was great. I was also in a bunch of the production shows, Crazy Girls, Midnight Fantasy, the Showgirls of Magic, which was a fabulous bad show.
As opposed to the Magic Showgirls.
Yeah, it was showgirls doing magic, and they weren't magicians. They were just,
of course,
showgirls. They taught them a couple tricks, and I would go out in between and do jokes, and I would explain to the audience what that last trick that they just saw, how it was supposed to go.
I think what killed it is they were dressed like Lance Burton, so that's why it didn't work as well over the time.
But we shared a dressing room. That was the best part of it.
Absolutely, of course.
Yeah, I was in a room with 4 naked women every night. People always said, "How's that job?" And I said, "I'm coming in early and I'm staying late. It's pretty good."
But at some point, you leave Las Vegas and you move to the Midwest.
Right. Well,
move back, I should say.
Got married again. It moved to LA. Then my wife got early onset Alzheimer's. I took care of her. Here's where the retirement story comes in. I was taking care of her for like 7 years. And then she became very ill and passed in 18. And so in 18, I went back to working a little bit. So just like I said, to gigs that I like to do. And it also seemed that I like to be retired and like pinball machines and play pickleball. So therefore,
pickleball
I'm not
machine.
real eager to travel all over the country anymore.
Right.
So I pick and choose a couple gigs, and Vegas is one of them.
Are you going to create the pickleball machine next? Does that combine those 2 elements? Pinball and pickleball? What do you think? Could that work?
Good idea.
I want 20%. Thank you.
There's no pinball pickleball machine.
No, I don't think so.
Jot this down.
Got it down. Yeah.
Piece of this if it comes to fruition. Don't worry.
All right. I always give my guests great ideas. I just don't like to execute them on my own because it requires work. So, exactly. You didn't want to do that. Now, okay, this is going to sound like dark humor, but should your girlfriend be worried?
Yes, I've already done that joke. Believe me.
I bet.
As we speak, she is moving in with me, my girlfriend. I said, what a brave soul. Being a double widow is not something you lead with on Match.com.
Right.
Hi, Mike, I got 2 dead wives.
No, I know that's
who
tough.
Would marry me, But if you think about it, what are the odds that I would be a triple?
Well, I hate to say it, but so far the odds look good.
History suggests.
History suggests. You know what? There's patterns in the universe, Mike. This may be one of them. So, okay, enough of dark humor. But
but you think if you marry a guy with no dead wives, he's due. He's due.
Oh, yes, right. But You can marry a guy with 2 dead wives and a sense of humor, and you got to start there.
There you go.
The way it looks. So, well, when you were taking time off to do with caregiving, and I listen, everybody appreciates it and respects that. How do you retain the comedy chops if you're not on stage on a regular basis? Is it because you're naturally funny, or do you have to work it out a little bit before going back on stage? How does that work for you?
That's a good question. And I wondered the same myself, because I would go for these extended periods, 6 months, 8 months, 0 time on stage. And I would then approaching a date coming up, and I would be really nervous and go, oh man, like you said, am I going to be rusty? But as soon as I get on stage, excuse me, there's something that kind of kicks in that goes, oh yeah, I know this. I know the mechanics of this, and it feels great. It feels comfortable. It's a place that I always felt comfortable. And it comes right back, like when I do Vegas, I do 14 shows in a week. And that first show it's a little bit of just like remembering my jokes. It's a lot of jokes about Vegas and specifically gambling, Vegas and stuff like that. But show 2, 3, 4 and on, it just feels right again. It's amazing to me how it just comes back.
Well, the other side of the coin too is comedy club owners, whether it's Harry or others in other cities, they clearly have confidence in you because they know you're not doing it on a regular basis, but They know that once you hit the stage, you're going to be good for it.
Right. Harry's been great about that. Like when I went back after the pandemic, I was with Dom Herrera, who you've had on the show, I believe. You know Dom?
Yes.
The legendary Dom Herrera.
I've had Harry Basil on one of the older shows that I had on as well when he was doing his act. Yeah.
They're best buddies, him and Dom, and I'm good buddies with him as well. But when we went back, Dom and I were backstage, and he looked at me and he goes, "Be honest. Are you nervous? Are you afraid that it's not going to work? We haven't been on stage." And I said, yeah, I really am. And we both went on and did our show. And then we both came off and went, hey, that was easy. And then just coasted the rest of the weekend, and it was great.
I think once it's in your blood, it's in your blood. So
I think so. It's a muscle, really.
Yeah.
It's a muscle that you develop, that your brain understands the formula, right?
So we'll move from blood to muscle. Okay, I can go with that analogy instead. Yes, that makes more sense. But it's also it's also in your brain,
right too, though.
Yeah, because that's the passion. It's wanting to do it too. You appear to be, and I will sign a voucher or affidavit to the effect, you appear to be relatively normal for a comedian. And I think part of it is your Midwest background, and you're still in the Midwest now. Do you find that you don't have to be overly neurotic? No, notice I didn't say neurotic. You don't have to be overly neurotic to be a comedian?
Well, some people would argue that that's not true, that you need to be a total lunatic, neurotic, depressive maniac to pull it off. And I know plenty of guys that are. And I've had plenty of depressing times in my life, as I just explained. But for me, it's an absolute escape, because I remember when I was working at Catch a Rising Star, when it used to be at the MGM.
The old MGM, right?
The current MGM.
Oh, the current MGM. I'm thinking even further back to what is now the
Horse. Yeah, there too. Right. I played there as well. But where it is now, and it's the Jabberwocky Theater now, I believe. Used to be the Catch a Rising Star Theater in the current MGM. And I had just found out that my first wife, had lung cancer. And I came in, and everybody that worked there knew me very well, knew my wife. And they were all gathered around me in a very loving sort of way, asking me questions. And I said, guys, let's stop talking about it. I got to go on stage in a minute. I need to clear my head. And they were like, right. So I went backstage, and I was standing in the mirror, just staring in the mirror, destroyed, fighting back tears. And saying to myself, I don't know if I can walk out there. I was really questioning if I was going to crumble,
Well, that's a human
Yeah.
Great.
So
Yeah.
standing there, they say my name, the curtain opens, and I go out, and as if there was like a magic wand, I was forced to focus on the task at hand, which is, oh, there's a room full of people here, and I'm supposed to do my job. And
And they do,
and
and just to make a point of it, they don't know what's going on in your personal life.
right,
So
they don't know.
yeah.
And so I just straight ahead. And it was such a welcome relief. I did like 35 minutes or whatever it was. Felt fine. I walked off. And the problem's waiting for me as soon as I get off stage, of course. But I thought, wow, I can't believe how good that felt to not be forced to think about the obvious problem and being able to just stand in this box and do my thing and escape. And then I really looked forward to going to work every night. And the people in town were very nice. Catch a Rising Star, Kevin Kearney, Lynn Garlock, they ran the joint. And they kept me working all the time. And it was I remember one night, someone else came up to me right before and started asking me questions about my wife. And I started crying. I mean, I was literally wiping tears off my face, walked out on stage, and was able to do it somehow. I don't know.
Well, it was a distraction in a way, which it can be very good as long as it's not a permanent distraction. That's always a trick. You
It's a
can't
welcome
avoid.
distraction. It's not like booze or drugs,
Right, right.
which
No,
is
not at
also
all.
a way to, mask it. Let's
Yeah.
drink, do
And
drugs.
also, it gets your endorphins going, which helps you to deal with the stress of it all too. So yeah, that makes sense. When you start to write your comedy or your act, I guess it would be a better way to look at it. How do you process that? I don't want to get overly technical. It's not that. It's really more, what are the topics you look for? So when audiences come to see you who may have not seen you before, what kind of topics do you cover and how do you structure it in terms of when you first start the act? You obviously get yourself known by the audience when you first walk out. That's always important, depending on the venue you're in, so that you establish a connection there. And I think also, I know this is a longer question than your answer, but there's also a likability factor, which you have. So I'll shut up now and let you answer.
What was the question?
I forget. Basically, how do you structure your act? The topics.
Well, a lot of it depends on where I am. Let's talk about where I am. The easy one is Vegas. We're all in Vegas together, right? Doing the Vegas thing. You're gambling, you're drinking, you're going to shows, you're maybe going buffet, all of these things that I am very familiar with because I've not only played Vegas for years, I not only lived in Vegas for years, but I immersed myself in debauchery back in the day.
Not you. Oh no.
Flipped over a crap table for 8 hours for research, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, it was nothing about fun or
I
pleasure.
never thought of you as being a degenerate gambler, so I can't even.
I had a little run. It's funny how when I go now, I hardly gamble at all. I got it out of my system, I guess, but or maybe I know the pitfalls of it and how it can go. But they were back in the day. Oh my God! One night, can I tell a dirty story on myself?
Sure, why not?
Gambling, it doesn't get too dirty. I finished the show. I was working with Drew Carey, to drop a name into the story. And we went out to dinner after the show. And then at about 2:00 in the morning, I decided to start playing craps. I was full of coffee. Played craps from 2 a.m. all into the morning, into the afternoon the next day. And about 4:00 the next afternoon, a buddy of mine comes by the table and goes, "Hey, when did you start playing?" And I said, "Last night at 2 a.m. He's like, "Dude, don't you think you should go to bed?" I said, "Yeah, probably." So I go to bed at like 4:00 in the afternoon, and I have a wake up call for 7. Wake me up. Well, they either forget to call me or I don't wake up. I
Mhm.
just sleep through the bell. The manager calls me at 5 till 9. He goes, "Where are you?" I said, I'm in bed. I think it's night. I don't know where I'm doing. He goes, "Well, you're on in 5 minutes." Sleep in bed. I leap out of bed. I throw on a suit. And I didn't realize till I got on stage that I had mismatched the suit. Like, wrong thing. I walk on stage, I'm dabbing my eyes with, I run backstage and Drew Carey looks at me like this. Like, I think I'm getting away with it. And then
Right.
I see Drew's look on his face and I realize I'm not getting away with this. He realized immediately I look like hell. I limped on stage and I somehow fought my way through the show. I'm sure it was a terrible show. I was just,
Gee.
that was really one of those like defining moments of like, okay, that's it. Enough of bad behavior.
The light bulb went on and you said, I can't do this and also perform. It's just not
And
going
I
to
only did that about 10 more times.
work. Well, before I let you go, we have a couple minutes left. What are you looking for towards now? You said you're semi-retired. You perform at selected venues and dates and et cetera. And you're very busy with the pinballs and the girlfriend. Are there other things you want to do? Do you want to write a book or do you want to do something entirely different than you've done? Maybe be in a play as an example?
I have a couple movie slash TV show ideas that are mostly about my life. One of them's a comedy, one of them's a drama that I'm working on. Hope to flesh those out someday in between the pinball games. Keeping my girlfriend alive
Yes.
so that my reputation can change,
Yes.
and restoring pinball machines.
Well,
Like in Vegas, we have to go to the Pinball Hall of Fame, Ira. Are you a
yeah,
pinball
we'll
fan?
definitely do it. I interviewed the owner of it. Was about 4 years ago, 5 years ago, before they made their move. They moved closer to the strip.
Is his
So,
name Steve?
yes, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I think it is. Yes, but they were in the old location on Tropicana Avenue, but they moved on to the strip now. So it's a whole different situation. But that's a great idea to do. I didn't mention as part of my introduction to you, but you also have a background and you've been on many TV shows. So do you miss Hollywood? I guess we'll kind of end with that question. Do you miss performing in Hollywood in terms of TV shows, et cetera?
I guess, that's when in my younger days, I was on a few sitcoms. I was on a lot of stand-up TV shows, MTV, as you mentioned, the Star Search Champion thing. Yeah, I mean, that was a great time in my life. You're on TV and people know you and
Oh,
say, "Hey,
yeah.
you on MTV last night?" And I remember waking up to I went to sleep one night with MTV on. And when I woke up in the morning, I was in kind of a half sleep and I heard my own voice. And I woke up to myself on TV. And I was like,
Well, that's a great way to leave it. My guest has been comedian Mike Saccone. He is headlining in the Laugh Factory at the Tropicana Las Vegas through August 27th. For ticket information, you can go to tropLV.com and you can follow Mike at about the only place possible, which is Facebook. So, Mike Saccone.
"Yeah,
Mike, thanks for being on the show.
thanks, Ira. Good to see you."
Same here. See you next time.